Crystia!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. We've seen crime spiraling out of control in recent months, especially over this last year, and we're starting to see thefts up in mass cities when it comes to tent encampments, homelessness, and another problem that we're going to get into later in this video, believe me. One thing I want to talk about today is the car thefts that are going on in places like Toronto. Now, of course, people are saying, well, there's always car thefts in cities. It's always common that cars are stolen and taken to ports and shipped out of the country. And now, of course, in Toronto, we've seen videos where we've covered in the past where they're now telling residents, leave your keys outside in your mailbox or on the ledge so that people can just take your keys and take your car and nobody's at risk. What kind of society is that we're living in? Now, it's going to be a little bit of a doozy here, folks, because Chrystia Freeland um, really lets us know what the government thinks and tries to give us basic word salad for the problems that they have created. And again, we're going to get into that massive problem that is resulting in these thefts shortly. But I want to show what Chrystia Freeland had to say talking about these auto thefts because, well, who does she blame for it? Well, she blames the conservatives. This seems to be the ongoing rhetoric for these guys is blame Stephen Harper, blame the conservatives, blame whoever you can, and deny, deny, deny. And, well, let's take a look.
So you see a lot of us here today, a lot of federal MPs and ministers, a lot of elected officials from Brampton, from Mississauga. You see some of our senior law enforcement leaders here. We're here on Victoria Day because we take this issue extremely seriously. We know the challenge is real and urgent. And the reality is we have a plan with specific, tough measures. Many of them require actual legislation. They require changes to the laws we have on the books. We have put forward that legislation, and now it needs to be passed.
Right. So we need legislation. The government just needs more power, ladies and gentlemen. They just need more ability to do the things that they need to do to protect us, just like when they locked us in our homes or when they froze the bank accounts of those terrible, terrible terrorist people that supported the Freedom Convoy. God forbid that anybody donate to a worthy cause. Well, they're of course saying that the only way they can fix the solution that or the problem to the solution that they created is by allowing them to pass more laws and give them more power, which, hate to break it to them, not going to happen. But let's continue.
It can sometimes feel like parliamentary maneuvers that you see in Ottawa are just about political games and they don't affect, an ordinary person just living their regular life in their community, in a beautiful community like Brampton. But that's not true. We need these measures to be passed, and the games that we see being played at parliamentary committees and in the House of Commons, ongoing endless filibusters that mean it is taking far, far too long for urgent measures like this to be passed. That is hurting the lives of Canadians, and it is the Conservatives who are doing this. So I think everyone here agrees that auto theft is an urgent problem and challenge. I hope everyone in Canada would agree that it is. And, let's put the partisan games aside. Let's give our law enforcement and our border officials the tools, the legislative tools, the physical tools, the money that they need to do the job.
What is she smoking? That's my question. Look at this twitchy witch. What is she smoking to say? Just Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are just filibustering us. They're just making our jobs difficult because we can't just keep printing money and just hand it over to the police and give them overreaches and power like we did when we invoked the Emergency Measures Act. This is insane. This is absolute insanity. The fact that she talks like this, which I find very hypocritical given that Chrystia Freeland claims she doesn't own a car, and she's going to talk about how important car theft is. Look, I can tell you what the problem is. I can tell you the problem isn't the conservatives. Do you want to know where all this car theft is happening? Why it's happening? Why there's such an increase in car theft? Keep in mind that when these cars are picked up, they're taken to seaports, they're put on shipping containers, and they're shipped out of the country. Well, who has those kind of connections? Oh, I know. Hold on a minute here. I know where it's coming from. Asylum and refugee homeless people that are sleeping on the streets, that are desperate, that have nowhere to go, no money in their pocket, that need to resort to crime in order to just continue to live. Even sleeping on the streets is better in Canada than where they're claiming to have come from, allegedly. But this is a federally created problem. Take a look at what's going on.
And Toronto's new mayor is calling the influx of refugees sleeping outside that shelter a crisis. Now, settling refugees is a federal responsibility, but the city says it's not getting enough financial help, not getting enough resources to help all these people coming to our country for a new life. Now, the region of Durham says its resources are getting strained because it just can't keep up with the recent influx of asylum seekers to its region as well. Now, the Prime Minister has commented on this recently, and here's what he had to say in response to the call from levels of government saying they need more help from Ottawa.
Over the past few years, we saw a spike in irregular migrants crossing between border crossings. The federal government was there with hundreds of millions of dollars in support to Quebec and Ontario primarily, but also to other parts of the country to ensure that there were capacities to support those refugees.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, sir. See, what this country needs, what he just said there, is that we offered hundreds of millions of dollars for these illegal migrants and illegal refugees instead of saying, I'm going to stop crossing my legs like a girl when I sit, and I'm going to start picking fights like with the governor of New York and asking, why are you shipping the refugees that you brought to the United States into my country? That has to stop. What you need to do is not arrest these people at crossings like Roxham Road and put them up in hotels at $100 million roughly bills. But what you have to do, Mr. Trudeau, is put them on an airplane and say, out. You're not staying here. You're not clogging up our streets. There's nowhere for you here. People already can't afford to eat, live, sleep, pay their bills, gas their vehicles. They can't live. But we'll just keep charging them carbon tax, and we'll just keep funneling money out to NGOs and homeless shelters. Even the mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow, to sit around and say, oh, well, the shelters are stretched out and we don't have room for these people. What she needs to start saying is maybe I shouldn't be wasting money trying to change roads like Dundas Street and fix the problem for citizens so they can feel safe to get up and walk around. Have you guys seen San Francisco in the last little while? Have you seen how disgustingly filthy and dirty that city is? It looks like a post-apocalyptic nightmare. That's what Toronto's going to turn into if it hasn't already. And again, I've never been to Toronto. I'm basing that off of footage that I see from mainstream shill prostitutes researching these videos. This supposed leader who likes to put on blackface should be telling all of these refugees, we'll give you a plane ticket anywhere you want to go, but nowhere in Canada, and you're not coming back. If they get across the border, they should have, instead of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to house these people in hotels at the taxpayer's expense, I'd be much happier as a taxpayer if we used that money to hire security at the borders to stop people from physically crossing that line. And if they're going to be arrested, they are arrested and immediately deported. That's the problem. This is a problem the federal government created, and now they're blaming the conservatives for it because they won't allow more power. Shows here on an article that more than 1,500 stolen car vehicles were identified around the world since February, says Interpol. A statement from the International Police Agency's headquarters in Lyon, France, said that the number of vehicles traced back to Canada makes this country one of the top 10 sources for stolen vehicles out of 137 countries sharing data. In recent years, Canada has emerged as a key source country for stolen motor vehicles, in part given its larger supply of sought-after high-value models such as SUVs and crossovers, Interpol said. Many of the vehicles are shipped to the Middle East and West Africa, where they are often traded or resold. Interpol says that most of the stolen Canadian vehicles have been identified at national ports of entry by law enforcement officials in other countries. Here's the thing, though. When those vehicles are identified at points of entry, they aren't given back to the owners. They are seized. They're sold at auction. In February, Public Safety Canada announced it was giving $3.5 million to Interpol's Joint Transitional Vehicle Crime Project. Of course, because, instead of actually having people watching what's happening or hiring police, we'll just give it to a project to do some studies. Interpol says the money's being used to enhance information sharing and investigative tactics to locate and retrieve stolen vehicles and parts. Nothing. It's doing nothing. This is all word salad. It's all a distraction. Last month, RCMP officers and Interpol agents took part in an operation in West Africa that recovered 65 stolen vehicles, some of which were from Canada. Interpol says that the stolen vehicles are used as currency by international criminal networks and are tied to drug trafficking, human trafficking, and terrorism. Federal government estimates that 90,000 vehicles are reported stolen every year in Canada. The Insurance Bureau of Canada said that in 2022, 105,000 vehicles were stolen across the country. The IBC called auto theft a national crisis. They said that the thefts resulted in $1.2 billion in insurance claims, more than 3 times what was paid out in 2018. So in just 6 years, we're 3 times higher in payouts than we already have been. You're telling me things are going to get better? Things are going to improve down the line? Things are not going to improve, ladies and gentlemen, until we stop the catch and release programs, until we start getting tough on crime, and until we start telling migrants that cross the border that go, I don't speak English, get out. Go home. Go back where you came from. Go somewhere else. You're not coming here. Canada's closed. GTFO if we need to go there. The same month, Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc announced $28 million in funding to help the Canada Border Services Agency improve its ability to search containers leaving the country. We all know how wonderful the CBSA is with taking money. We've seen it with Arrive scam. We've seen it in multiple government scandals and slush funds. Again, this is all just filibuster to disperse Canadian taxpayer money and really do nothing to solve the problem. This is a massive issue in this country, and one that I don't see any politicians stepping up to handle. I know Pierre Poilievre has said, we're going to stop the crime, we're going to get tough on it, we're going to get rid of the catch and release, but you're telling me that with those kind of insurance claims, we can take another 1.5 years of this? I don't think so. Something's got to give. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button, click the bell for notifications. Join us live here on the channel every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, where we go over everything that's happened in the past week, everything coming up in the week ahead, and some back and forth with the community. It's always great to hear what you guys have to say outside of making these videos, and I look forward to talking with each and every one of you this upcoming Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.